Hey, it's Bailey O'Brien. Recently, I was researching healing stories, and I came across this really amazing story of a woman who overcame stage 4B cervical cancer. And I asked her to share a little bit more about herself. So she gave me a big, long story of her healing. And she was given 3 days to 3 weeks to survive when she got her diagnosis. That was in 2008. And then she was a Christian, so she prayed and asked God for wisdom and guidance on what to do. And she said she totally surrendered to God's will for her life. She ended up doing chemotherapy, which was very difficult. She got through the first round and then another and then another. She did several rounds of chemotherapy. Meanwhile, she had friends who encouraged her to do natural and alternative methods for treatment. And she was open to the idea. But she also couldn't find any story of someone who had stage 4B cervical cancer who did only alternative methods, no surgery or chemotherapy or radiation. So she said to me, maybe you could help me with this. Like, why haven't I found any stories like this? And it was pretty much a mystery to me. I couldn't figure it out, so I asked Gar Hildenbrand. I sent him an email, and he said, this is a perfect opportunity to share with her the danger model, which is a theory about the immune system and why our bodies can't recognize the cancer and therefore fight it off. And the reason is that, if you haven't heard it before, the cancer does not look dangerous to the body. Things that look dangerous to the immune system or the body that the immune system responds to include things like wounds and bacteria. And contents of bacteria like lipopolysaccharides and bacterial DNA, which stimulate, or they're called pathogen-associated molecular pathways? No. Pathogens. So these dangerous contents of bacteria, like bacterial DNA or lipopolysaccharides, which are also called alarmins or pathogen-associated molecular patterns, will bind with receptors on antigen-presenting cells. And antigen-presenting cells could be something like a dendritic cell, which then, so it binds to the alarmin and then takes it to the lymphatic system, and where the adaptive immune response begins. And so the reason that cancer is not recognized by the body is that it doesn't look dangerous. So the way that we can make cancer look dangerous is with bacteria like Coley's toxins. That's supposedly the reason why Coley's toxins work, because when the bacteria are present, it activates the immune system because the immune system sees the danger there. And then tumor antigens are presented, and then T cells or the dendritic cells see the antigens, and they eat them up and present them to the T cells in the immune system, and then T cells multiply and kill the cancer cells. And then another thing that activates the immune system is wounds. And wounds could be something like surgery or a cut. And so this is why surgery could be a part of a cancer healing protocol. And something that I've been seeing a lot, or at least recognizing it more and understanding better lately, is that sometimes stories, like mine even, will be presented as a natural healing story. And I did find one stage 4B cervical cancer survivor. Maybe it wasn't stage 4B, but it was stage 4, a woman who had cervical cancer. She beat it holistically, but she did also do low-dose chemotherapy. But her story was promoted as a natural healing story. So I think it's important not to get hung up on like a natural healing story or trying to categorize a story into either or. because including stories like mine, which I just began to appreciate, I did do one round of chemotherapy pills called Temodar when I first got my stage 4 diagnosis, before I changed my diet and before I went to Mexico. And I was also taking another supplement, but my tumor under my chin did begin to shrink before I went to Mexico and did the alternative therapies. Now, I certainly don't think that 5 pills of chemotherapy would have reversed my cancer the way that it did, and my oncologist at Sloan Kettering did not believe that either, but maybe it had a role. And before thinking more about the potential benefit of conventional therapies more recently, I used to kind of shy away from sharing that part about my story. But I think it's important for you to recognize that, and for other people, especially like I've seen in the Alternative Cancer Clinic Reviews Facebook page, that people seem to be upset that alternative cancer treatment facilities use things like chemotherapy or surgery, and they get very upset. And they say, why is this any different from getting chemotherapy in the United States? And first of all, the chemotherapy that is usually administered in alternative clinics is at a lower dose, and possibly less frequently. And I was reading Gar Hildenbrand's lecture called Case Outcomes of a Methodology Based on Matt Singer's Danger Model. And he said at St. Andrew's Clinic, he had this in his lecture, a case of a man who had mantle cell lymphoma. And he had a doctor at Memorial Sloan Kettering who would have recommended 5 different types of chemotherapy. And Gar said at St. Andrews, I think it was St. Andrews, they administered 2 different types of chemotherapy. And the way that they dropped his blood sugar and raised the blood sugar again with insulin and other things allowed him to have a much higher quality of life during his treatments. And he, as of the lecture, I think it was 2000, maybe 13, 15, the patient was doing incredibly well. Like, he had I think a 21 centimeter mass in his abdomen, something in his clavicle or his shoulder that was surgically removed. He also did Coley's injections of the mixed bacterial toxin to alert the immune system. And he did the Gerson therapy with, I believe he did the full Gerson therapy, not 100% sure, but you could check it out. Search Case Outcomes of a Methodology Based on Matt Singer's Danger Model, or go to gerson-research.org, which is the Gerson Research Organization's website, which is run by Gar and his wife, Christine. And in this lecture, Gar also states how he's an epidemiologist, and he and his wife have gone through over 5,000 charts of patients who have had cancer, and I trust in Gar's experience and his judgment. And if you've heard him talk, he's also done videos for Chipsa Hospital on YouTube. You can find them. He explains everything very well, and so it's something, if you're doing research for yourself, either if you have cancer or you want to prevent a recurrence, or you're researching on behalf of someone else, just being open-minded to getting the best of both worlds, of the conventional and alternative. And I think it's possible to heal doing either or. I think there are occasions when this happens, but I wouldn't. And certainly you'll have your own convictions, I'm sure, about what will be best for you. But I think it's good to talk to someone who's very experienced in this area, who's a doctor or a researcher, who can help guide you on the path that will be best for you. And of course, seeking God's help and His wisdom, because He made you as an individual. Everybody is unique, and even for things such as diet, everybody responds to foods differently. And the same goes for treatments. Some treatments will work well for some people and not others. And including God in your plans will help you tremendously, I believe. Such as this woman who only did chemotherapy. She didn't even change her diet, and I think even if she had changed her diet, she could have done even better. Maybe she would have handled the chemotherapy better, or it would have helped her heal more quickly. I don't know. So, yeah, in searching for cervical cancer survivors, I found this website with about 50 healing stories of women on there. I don't know if every single one of them was healed. Were they healed? But all the survivor stories on there, all the women had gotten surgery for their cancer. And some of them did do alternative or complementary treatments. They changed their diet and took supplements. But essentially they did also do surgery, which is a form of immunotherapy. It stimulates the immune system. And so surgery, chemo, they are not the enemy. I was jaded by my own experiences of conventional methods, and because I had done just conventional methods the first 2 times, I had stage 3 melanoma, and then when it progressed to stage 4, just 2 weeks after I finished treatment for my second diagnosis of melanoma, I found out it was stage 4, and for me it was like, okay, I tried everything you told me to do, and it, like, where did it bring me? It didn't help. The radiation didn't help. From what I've heard and read, radiation may not be the best option for melanoma, but that's what I tried for myself. And then I was open for the first time to alternative methods. I had started changing my diet already, but I was more convinced that a radical change in my diet and doing things not allowed in the United States could be helpful to me. So it's a process, it's a journey. There's a lot of research involved. And just trust that God is with you. He loves you. He has good plans for you. And I'm here if you need help or prayer or just someone to talk to. So I hope you have a good day. I'm grateful for you, and I'll talk to you soon.